Tea is more than just a crop in Kenya. It is one of the country's largest sources of foreign exchange, employing millions of Kenyans directly and indirectly. Today, Kenya is among the world's leading exporters of black tea, and behind that success lies decades of policy decisions made by different governments. Every administration inherited a different challenge and responded differently. Some focus on expanding production, others on reforming the market, and others on improving farmers. Let's walk through this journey together with you so that you get to understand what every government introduced to the economy of tea. First, let's look at Jomo Kenyatta between 1964 to 1978. He was the foundation builder. When Kenya gained independence in 1963, tea farming was largely dominated by European settlers. African farmers had limited opportunities to grow tea commercially because colonial policies had restricted them from participating in the sector. President Jomo Kenyatta changed this. His government believed that economic independence could only happen if ordinary Kenyans were given opportunities to participate in profitable agriculture. One of the biggest decisions was expanding tea growing among African smallholder farmers. Instead of limiting tea production to large estates, thousands of small-scale farmers across central Kenya, Kericho, Nyeri, Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, and other tea-growing areas were encouraged to plant tea. To support these farmers, the government strengthened the Kenya Tea Development Authority (KTDA). It became much more than an organization. It started supplying high-quality seedlings, extension officers who trained farmers, processing factories, collection centers, marketing support, transport and logistics, access to international buyers, and much more. This was completely revolutionary. Instead of every farmer struggling to find buyers, KTDA collected green leaf, processed it into tea, marketed it internationally, and returned earnings to the farmers. The government also invested heavily in building tea factories close to farming communities. This reduced transport costs, minimized spoilage, and encouraged more farmers to grow tea because there was a guaranteed market. What was the impact of Jomo Kenyatta's policies? Thousands of rural families acquired a reliable source of income. Tea quickly became one of Kenya's biggest exports and a major source of foreign exchange. Without forgetting, many schools, hospitals, and roads in tea-growing regions were built because of the economic activity created by tea. Without this foundation, Kenya's tea industry would likely never have reached global prominence. Rest well, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, for the great impact that you did in the tea industry. Second, let's look at Daniel Arap Moi. This is between 1978 to 2002. This was the Great Expansion era. When President Moi took office, the industry was already growing. His challenge was different. Instead of introducing tea farming, he focused on making it bigger. His government expanded tea cultivation into new areas, particularly in parts of Rift Valley and Western Kenya. Regions that had not traditionally grown tea began joining the industry. This dramatically increased Kenya's production capacity. The government also supported the construction of many more tea factories. As tea acreage expanded, more processing capacity was required. Building factories closer to farmers reduced transport distances and increased efficiencies. Moi's administration was continued investing in research through tea research institutions. Scientists developed things such as higher yielding tea varieties, disease-resistant varieties, better farming methods, improved pruning techniques, better fertilizer recommendations. These innovations enabled farmers to harvest more tea from the same land. Let's talk about the privatization of KTDA. Perhaps the most significant change during Moi's era came in the late 1990s. The Kenya Tea Development Authority was restructured. Eventually, it transformed into the Kenya Tea Development Agency. Unlike before, farmers gradually became shareholders and owners of tea factories. This was intended to make tea factories more accountable to farmers instead of being controlled by government. The idea was simple. The people growing the tea should also own the institutions processing it. Although farmers' ownership increased, new concerns later emerged over management fees, governance, transparency, and administrative costs. This issue would later become central of reforms by future governments. Let's talk about the impact of Moi. Tea production increased significantly. Kenya strengthened its position as one of the world's leading tea exporters. More regions definitely joined the tea economy, increasing employment in rural areas. However, discussions about whether farmers were receiving enough of the final value of the tea also began gaining momentum. And here came the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki. 2002 to 2013. Let's look into what Mwai Kibaki was able to do. Although tea reforms during Kibaki's administration were less headline-grabbing than those under later governments, the period coincided with broader economic growth and infrastructure development that benefited the tea sector. The government invested in roads, electricity, and communications, making it easier to transport green leaf to factories and connect producers to markets. Expansion of rural electrification also supported tea processing by improving access to reliable power. Kenya continued to strengthen its reputation at the International Tea Auction in Mombasa, while research institutions promoted improved farming practices and quality standards. During this period, global tea prices fluctuated, and concerns about production cost and farmers' returns continued. These challenges helped shape the calls for more comprehensive reforms that followed. What was the impact of Mwai Kibaki during his reign? The sector became more efficient through better infrastructure and continued research, but structural issues around pricing, governance, and value distribution remained unsolved. And here is where all the politics when it comes to tea sector began. Let's talk about the fourth president of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Between 2013 to 2022, he was the reformer of the tea sector. By the time President Uhuru Kenyatta assumed office, Kenya was already producing huge amounts of tea. The problem was no longer production. The biggest complaint from farmers was income. Many farmers asked, if Kenya exports billions of shillings worth of tea every year, why are farmers still struggling? The government identified several problems. There were complaints about cartels, high brokerage fees, multiple middlemen, poor transparency, high factory management cost, weak governance, low farming earnings. This led to one of the biggest reforms in Kenya tea history. The Tea Act 2020 was introduced alongside new regulations. The reforms sought to, number 1, increase transparency in tea marketing. Number 2, reduce unnecessary charges deducted from farmers. Number 3, strengthen oversight of KTDA and tea factories. Number 4, improve accountability in factory management. Number 5, encourage value addition instead of exporting mostly raw black tea, as was the history of Kenya. The government also targeted alleged cartels believed to be benefiting at the expense of the farmers. The overall objective was simple: allow farmers to retain a large share of the value created by the Kenyan tea. And what was the impact of Uhuru Kenyatta? The reform significantly changed the legal framework governing the tea industry. While supporters argued the improved transparency and farmers' protections, some stakeholders debated aspects of the implementation. The reforms nevertheless marked one of the most significant policy shifts in the sector in decades. Let's talk finally about His Excellency William Ruto, the current president of Kenya. The value addition agenda which he introduced. President William Ruto inherited an industry that had already undergone major legal reforms. His administration had focused on making those reforms work while lowering production costs and increasing the values farmers could receive. One major intervention has been fertilizer subsidies for smallholder tea farmers. Fertilizer is among the largest production costs in tea farming. Reducing fertilizer prices lowers production costs and can improve farmers' profitability, though some people argue that is still debatable. The government has also encouraged direct tea sales to international buyers. Traditionally, much Kenyan tea has been sold through intermediaries and auction systems. The goal of direct sales is to increase competition among buyers, potentially improve prices, and reduce reliance on middlemen where appropriate. Another priority has been value addition. Instead of exporting mostly bulk tea, the government has proposed incentives to encourage more packaged and branded in Kenya. This includes support for shared packaging facilities and tax incentives on some packaging materials. This reasoning is straightforward. A kilogram of branded packaged tea sold to consumers can generate much more value than bulk tea sold for further processing overseas. If more of that value is created in Kenya, there is greater potential for higher incomes, more manufacturing jobs, and increased export earnings. Finally, let's talk about the impact of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. The administration's strategy aims to improve farmers' profitability by reducing production costs and capturing more value within Kenya, though the long-term outcome will depend on sustained implementation and market conditions. Overall, we can say this about the tea sector as we look back through every president that have ruled, that have introduced policies, and have introduced strategies to make this sector better. Looking back, every administration tackled a different stage of the tea industry's development. Jomo Kenyatta laid the foundation. Arap Moi expanded the production. Mwai Kibaki strengthened the sector directly through infrastructure improvements and economic modernization, while Uhuru Kenyatta focused on reforming governance, increasing transparency, and improving farmer returns through major legal and regulatory changes. William Samoei Ruto finally has continued those reforms while emphasizing lower production costs, direct market access, and addition of value to increase the share of wealth retained within Kenya. The story of Kenyan tea is not just about leaves growing on hillsides. It is the story of how government, policies, institutions, infrastructure, research, and market reforms have shaped the lives of millions of farming families. Each administration inherited a different challenge. One built the foundation, another expanded the production, another modernized the environment, another reformed governance, and the current administration is seeking to increase the value earned from every kilogram of tea. Whether one judges each approach as fully successful or not, together these decisions have helped make Kenya one of the world's leading tea exporting nations and ensured that tea remains a cornerstone of rural livelihoods and national economy. Now my question to you is one: are you a consumer and a supporter of the Kenyan tea industry?